Who was Napoleon Bonaparte? Genius, madman, gambler. Over the next 5 minutes, we'll unravel the crazy, incredible, and at times, downright bizarre life of one of history's most famous figures. From his meteoric rise to his dramatic fall, this is the story of the little general with the big dream. Born in 1769 on the rugged island of Corsica, Napoleon wasn't exactly destined to rule. His family wasn't royal or regal, or even particularly rich. But his father had big ambitions for his diminutive son. A military man himself, Carlo Bonaparte wanted his boy to follow in his footsteps. And follow he did, enrolling in a fancy military school on the French mainland with dreams of world domination. After graduation, his next stop was the French army, where thanks to his father's influence, he joined up as a very young second lieutenant. And at first, he struggled. His French was shaky, he had an accent, and he didn't fit in. But young Boney wasn't going to stay in the shadows for long. In 1793, he claimed his first major victory, helping to crush a royalist rebellion in Toulon. And just like that, with the flash of a bayonet, Napoleon had arrived. Promotion quickly followed, and at the tender age of 24, the little soldier with the big ego was made a brigadier general. Napoleon didn't rest on his laurels, and in 1796, he was handed command of the French army in Italy. He outthought, outfought, and outflanked his Austrian opponents, crushing every army in his path. Back home, as the French Revolution raged, Napoleon was no longer just a general, he was a champion of liberty and fraternity. In short, he was a superstar. Fast forward to 1799. In France, the revolutionary fervor has cooled. The country, like its monarchy, is headless. Enemies are closing in on every side, the British to the south, the Prussians and Russians to the east. Out of the embers steps Napoleon, buoyed by a string of military victories, and it has to be said a somewhat misplaced sense of destiny. The little Corsican is done playing the dutiful general. With the French army in his pocket and the government in disarray, Napoleon stages a coup. He is installed as de facto leader of France, and just 5 years later, in 1804, he crowns himself emperor. By now, Napoleon is unstoppable, cutting a swathe across 19th century Europe and sweeping all before him. Famous victories at Austerlitz in 1805, where he decimated Austria and Russia, and at the Battle of Jena in 1806, where he crushed Prussia, cement his reputation. By 1812, Napoleon is on top of the world. His second wife, Marie-Louise, has just given birth to a son and heir, and his empire now stretches across most of continental Europe, encompassing more than 90 million people. But there is one notable holdout: Russia. In a fit of hubris, Napoleon decides to invade. It's his first real misstep. The freezing Russian winter and the Tsar's scorched earth tactics decimates Napoleon's army. Thousands of his troops freeze, starve, and perish. The few that remain beat a weary retreat back to France. But there's no time to regroup. With his army in tatters, his enemies seize their chance. A coalition of countries, Sweden, Spain, Austria, and Russia, face down Napoleon's bedraggled ranks at Leipzig in 1813 and crush him. In the bitter aftermath, the great conqueror is captured and forced into exile on the island of Elba. But his story doesn't end there. Napoleon escapes his island prison, returns to France and raises an army. It's 1815, and the military maestro gambles everything on one last pitched battle. In Belgium, at Waterloo, the fate of Europe hangs in the balance. His enemies gather, and an epic battle ensues. Although Napoleon's shock troops put up a mighty resistance, the combined British-Prussian force, led by a battle-hardened General Wellington, proves too much. Napoleon's army crumbles, and in a musket flash his empire is over. The would-be Caesar is exiled once again to the remote rocky island of St. Helena. This time, there'll be no escape. Alone and embittered, drunk and desolate, Napoleon dies from stomach cancer a few years later in 1821. He was just 51 years old. It's a sad end for such a brilliant man. Genius and tyrant, soldier and emperor. Never before had someone risen so high and fallen so far. He built an empire, conquered millions and redrew the map of Europe, only to see it all come crashing down around him. But the name of Napoleon Bonaparte will echo through history, peerless, timeless, deathless. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.